Hello, and welcome to this deep dive demo of the Itential Automation Platform 21.1, in which we'll talk about new features and improvements in different segments of our application. My name is Alex Digitz, I'm a Senior Product Manager here at Itential, and this video will focus on the updates that we made to the Itential Automation Platform, the core of our software. Going into the slides here, one thing I want to highlight is the sensitive data mode that we've added. This allows you to obfuscate any sensitive data in your automations, in your workflows, wherever you have them. What that means is any data, be it passwords, personally identifiable information, credit card information, and so on, whatever you choose should be sensitive, should be protected. You can protect those fields now, be it incoming variables, be it outgoing variables of tasks, so that they're not visible in Job Manager. Benefits here, of course, is most security policies have to have some form of obfuscation, of anonymization of personally identifiable information, so we are completely compliant there. When it comes to any obfuscating data, any data that's available to users, as well as it allows multi-tenant scenarios in an easier way where you have multiple groups running Job Manager on the same IAP instance, and they should not see what the other team is doing, or at least not see the sensitive information there. Let's jump into a quick demo for that. What we see here is the Itential Automation Studio, the version 21.1, and I've already prepared a really small workflow that just allows me to change the password here of an XOS device, changing the VTP password, for example. Of course, in usual workflows, we do that with a form where user can type in a password field, but just for demonstration purposes here, I took the VTP password field and just said the new password for this VTP should be my password, for example. So I'm just going to run this, and let's see what happens. We're going to view the job. Now it links us to the Job Manager, which is the application where we work all tasks, where we manage all jobs, and we see the process here was complete. But what we see is any user, not just me, who has access to Job Manager, can go in here, look at the history, and then see my password was actually the incoming variable, which of course should never happen, that this should not be visible information to people. So what we can do with IAP 21.1 is we can mask or obfuscate any input. In this case, we can choose to mask the outcome here, or the input for the VTP password specifically. So I'm just going to set this variable here to masked and save the workflow. By the way, if the resulting message of this Ansible module here would contain the password as well, I could easily also mask the outgoing variables to make sure I'm extra safe here. But for now, let's run this same job again. We're going to again view it. It opens a new tab for our Job Manager to actually see all tasks. We again see this was successful, but with the main difference that if we look into the task information now, which again, like anyone to Job Manager, which is usually anyone operating IAP, could go to, and when we look at the incoming, now the VTP password is obfuscated, so no one who is not authorized can access this password through Job Manager. Okay, let's jump back to my slide deck, and the second highlight I want to point out for the Itential Automation Platform is that we are now able to use IAP as an API gateway. And what that means is we automatically create API routes for all integrations and adapters when routes are defined, which is by far the most adapters have that. All of our open source adapters have that. All integration have that initially, so there's very few exceptions where you wouldn't have that available out of the box. But what we can do is we expose those routes, and first of all, you can just use IAP as an API gateway then. There is fine-grained access control, so for each route that we expose, you can select which user, which group, in which role should have access to actually make this API call. By default, when you add a new adapter or when you upgrade to 21.1, since it's the first time we're exposing those routes, no one will have access to those routes to make sure we are backwards compatible and we're not exposing anything that you didn't want to. So once you upgrade, you need to specify users that have access to a certain API route for you to continue or to start making use of that feature. One big thing where we use that internally, one big advantage is in the JSON Forms application, which I'm going to showcase in a second. You're actually going to be able to now populate drop-down fields from external sources through your adapters, through your integrations. And it allows you to do a couple of cool things because it allows you to really get live data federated from different systems and help people fill out their forms, do their work by giving them the correct options without you having to do any custom code, any integration setup. And because that is so cool, I'm going to show it in full length in a demo now. Let's jump back to our Itential Automation platform. And for this exercise, I'm actually going to open Admin Essentials because this is an admin task. And one thing that we can do, if you followed our videos here since 2020.2, we have these integration models. And I've, again, before recording here, I downloaded a quick one just to demonstrate what we can do. And what I downloaded was I think the Jira, yeah, exactly, the Jira Open API standard. So when we import them, what happens is these thousands and thousands of lines of API documentation will be imported into our system, automatically HA aware of all your IAP clusters. And the reason why I wanted to show this entire process is not only because it is so fast, but we have added Swagger documentation on the left-hand side here. So as soon as you imported an integration model, you see all the information about all calls. You can actually authorize Swagger here to make those calls to your instance so you can test it more easily. Specifically as an admin, that's a super valuable feature. But you see for each call, what are the inputs, what are the expected outputs, what are the status codes, the potential responses, and very valuable as well. At the far bottom of it, and you see just how many API calls there are when we import the Jira OpenAPI documents, you see a list of all schemas as well. So if you want to develop against a specific API with our workflows, for example, you want to create a specific ticket, you want to create a specific issue, all of that schema that you need here for issues, workflows is available here to you. So you can see directly here, for example, a created issue needs an ID, a key, and so on, a self and a transition. So everything that you need is right there for you. Only thing for me left to do is I'm going to take the Jira Cloud platform and actually connect it to our Itential Jira instance. So I'm going to create an adapter instance, and I'm going to pause the video real quick while I fill out our information here because I don't want you guys to see our OAuth token for the Jira instance. So give me just a second here. Okay, now that that's done, what we can do is we can go back to Automation Studio where we have all the elements that we need to create automations with. And we're going to go to JSON Forms. And actually, we're just going to create a new one. New JSON form, and we're gonna name that, I don't know, create a Jira ticket, because that's where we were integrating. And so what you can think of, and now you would be at the place where you look at the schema and you copy and paste some stuff in so that you can make sure you have a good user experience when people create a Jira ticket. And so some things we want to consider probably is it needs a title and it needs a description, and we can do all kinds of validation on here. Like for example, if you say you want to for people to leave their email address, you can say here email, you can say it's required, you can choose email as a format. That way we only allow valid email addresses. All of that's taken care of for you out of the box. But the thing I actually want to show is the drop-down list, because here it gets really cool. What we can do is I can select my drop-down list, and now I can say I think one of the required fields is the I'm going to butcher that, like a ticket type or something. And now I can select options, and I can say I want to dynamically populate the options that are available for the user here. And I actually want to take my Jira instance that I just created and actually want to see what kind of types are available. And here we can see like get REST API to issue type, for example. So let's make this call. And here we see we get the response, and here we see all the different issue types that people can select. So what we say is, yes, we want to map that to our response, the available keys in our drop-down list. And the key that we want here is name. We could use anything. We could do name and description to make it more meaningful to users. In this case, I'm just going to say name, and this is going to be the list that's available. So I'm going to save this real quick, and now I'm just gonna look at this form to see what we've currently built, what the user would see when they create a ticket using this form. And what we see here is we've now created a drop-down list that goes out to Jira and gets all the available issue types for people to select. So they don't have to handwrite, it's a lead, it's a bug, it's a ticket or task or whatever. This is actual from the Itential Jira instance here. And so, of course, you can think of it, you can use that for Jira, but literally any integration, any system that you have a Swagger document to, you are now able to live query when people want to open forms, when people want to make changes or inputs, and you can query the current number of devices on your adapter, or you can query the possible VLANs available in your netbox. Like anything is possible when you think about, you can now query external system, get them back in a nice drop-down list. If it doesn't come back with a nice name, what you're always able to do is you can just add a JST instead, JSON transformation here, to map whatever comes back from that API call to exactly what you want to show in a drop-down list, which could include multiple values as well. Okay, let me back to my slides, and that's all I wanted to show. So there's a ton of options now for you to be more flexible, to create better automations with dependencies on external systems, so that your users don't have to guess the right data, but they have it right in front of them, available in a drop-down list. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next video.